Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, I've just had my heating on full to try and get flush the house with a bit of warm air, so I'm not standing here shivering as I talk to people. But it's warmed up now. I've just turned it off and we're good to go. Good morning. As you come in, please take a minute to say hi. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Let me know who's here. I am so excited for today's conversation for a few reasons. One, because I've got something to share with you that I think is going to make a massive difference in putting some of what we have talked about over the last 4 days really into context for you. But also, our guest today is one of my favorite humans on the planet. I've interviewed her quite a few times, and hopefully, a lot of you will already know her, but those that don't, you're all in for a massive treat. So that's coming up at 10 o'clock. But between now and then, please say hi as you're coming in. And I just want to, I think it's so important as we go through something like this, whatever, whenever you're in a learning mode, whether it's reading a book that has various chapters or listening to a challenge like this or going through a course, it is so important just to give yourself a moment to reflect on what you have learned, because this is how we start to put all the pieces of a puzzle together in our brain. If we just keep consuming the next bit without taking a second to reflect on what we've heard, learned, read, then it goes in one ear and out the other, and it's like this one-way flow through our brain, and you're not really going to be taking things on board. So let's take this moment while while we're waiting for to kick off officially at 9:30 or 4:30 if you're on the other side of the planet, and think about where we started. So where we started, good morning, Monica. It is a beautiful morning. Good. So where we started, I started with asking you to set your intention for this challenge. You have to be clear on where you're going. And I'm going to give you the most fabulous analogy today that is going to ground this in for you. I'm confident that you will love it, and it will just shift things in your brain and how you're thinking. Good morning, Margaret. Good morning, Judy. So we get to set our intention. What is it that you want? When you signed up for this, there was something in you that, there's a frustration or there's a yearning for something more. There was something in you that was like, okay, I may get some answers in here. What is that? What are you wanting to achieve? Good morning, Mia. Good morning, Liz. So remember, if you want to write it in the comments, I love to see what that is. If you want to write it on paper just to ground yourself back in there, remember what it was. So what was your intention? And remember, the more that we focus on something, the more likely we are to hit the goal. If you want to think about pulling back a bow and arrow, I mean, if you look the other way or close your eyes and let it go, the chances that the arrow is going to hit the target is next to zero. Whereas if you're looking at where you want that arrow to hit, the chances are you're going to hit it. I forgot to turn down my emails. So, we've got to know what the target is. I can't stress this enough. I'm going to go over it and over it and over it, because it is the bit that people keep missing. You've got to know what it is that you want to achieve. And remember, we can think about it in terms of your health, wealth, time, and love. Pick one. It doesn't have to be everything. If you're feeling unhappy, if you're feeling stuck, and just that there's a sense of let's just say unhappiness, you're not satisfied, you're not feeling fulfilled with where you are in your life, then what are the things that help you to be happier? Stop procrastinating. Find ways to get yourself moving forward, and get clarity. Seek clarity. You've got to know where you're heading. If we don't have a picture of where we're heading, then that feeling of just feeling stuck, unclear, unhappy will persist. It sounds simple. The solutions are simple. Putting it into action takes some hard work, but we know we can do hard things. We know we can do uncomfortable things. We just need to make the decision that we're going to. So that's where we, they're the main things that we have focused on. I talked about setting up a morning routine because it's those things that we do first thing in the day that set us up for a fabulous day ahead. So that's just a little recap in bullet points. Good morning, good morning. Made it live today. Well done, Liz. It's lovely to have you here, darling. Okay, so we're going to kick off officially, and here is my takeaway for today. If you want to write one thing down, this is something that is a false belief that we keep saying and we pass on to the next generation, and it is not serving us. And this is go with the flow. Go with the flow is some of the worst advice that you can be given. And today I want to interrupt that, and I want to give you a picture of why this is bad advice and why we get to stop saying it and why we get to pass on to the next generations the understanding that this is not the way to create a life that you love living. Good morning, Beryl. Can't stay long, just on a break. It's lovely to have you here, darling. Leanne, good morning. So here we go. And if you want to, I'm a vision building mentor, so I love to coach in visuals. And let's just go, let me ground you in this. What is the role of a coach? Because in Australia, we are still getting used to the idea of having a coach. It's, I'm not going to teach you how to play football or run faster, which is how we think typically in terms of coaching. For those of you in the US, you're much further in front. You've been doing this for a lot longer, so you have a concept of what it is. When I'm working with people, here is how I explain my role. And it is to ask thought-provoking questions and to hold a safe container for you to explore what the answer is for you. So if you think about what we are doing in here, I am giving you concepts, ideas to think about. I am asking questions. And inside this space is a safe container for you to explore those answers. So it may be worth just writing that down, because the more you have that concrete understanding of what you're doing here and how I can serve you, good morning, Fiona, then the more you're going to get out of this. This is about being proactive. So why is going with the flow such bad advice? So here's your visual. If you want to close your eyes, please do, because we think in pictures. So what I want you to do is imagine that you are in a stream. Okay, you've got a beautiful large lilo. It is a warm day. There's a gentle breeze, the perfect temperature. The water is calm, and you get to just lie back on that lilo. And there is a gentle current that is just carrying you along. It's beautiful. It's relaxing. There's a slight feeling of like, I'm not too sure what's under me. I have faith that the river is going to take me somewhere that is okay. It's not going to be dangerous. It's okay. But there's a little ripple, a little breeze comes up, and you just kind of put your hands on the lilo to make sure that you're staying steady. You're relaxed enough that you're taking deep breaths. The sun is still warm in your skin. You're comfortable. The breeze picks up a little. You may decide that you're actually going to hang on to the side of the lilo. It feels like maybe the river is starting to flow a little bit more quickly. Going with the flow. You're just moving along. As the speed picks up, and as you feel this kind of slightly less steady rhythm in the lilo, you want to open your eyes. You sort of become a bit more aware, a bit more alert. You're starting to look for other people. Is there somebody around? Am I alone on this journey? Is there anybody else experiencing this discomfort? How are they reacting to this discomfort? Am I reacting like everybody else? What are the signals that I'm picking up? And then the speed picks up and you realize that if you wanted to get off the lie-low, you probably couldn't because it's just going fast enough now that you'd be worried to slide off. And so you just hang on a bit tighter, you're more alert, you'll feel that your muscles are contracting just that little bit more. And you're starting, that anxiety is really starting to build. You know, what's underneath you? Is there really a steady platform under you? It felt safe when you were just sliding along, but it's uncertain now. And you just feel like you're going to hang on a little bit tighter and a little bit tighter. You feel your whole body just starts to kind of bunch up, the muscles. It's okay. You know, the sun's still shining and people around you seem to still be reacting okay, but you're just getting this bubbling undercurrent that it's not, you're feeling like your control is less and less. And then you realize that it's just getting rougher and it's getting faster and you're feeling less in control. And suddenly you tip and you're going down. And that waterfall has arrived. There is no getting off. There's no way out. You're in this, you hit the bottom, you get tipped off. It's that washing machine effect. You get tumbled. And eventually you kind of find your right way up. You find the light. You float back up to the surface. The water below is calm. And you actually have two choices at this point. You have the choice to clamber back up onto that lie-low, lie back, take a breath, and let the stream continue to carry you on the journey. Or you can get out and you can put your feet firmly on the ground and take control of where you're heading. Decide what your next step is and be in charge of the direction that you're going. Now, this analogy you can easily apply to your life. You can easily see how this is actually how most people live and how we all live at different times. And it may be where you're at the moment. I'm going to guess it's not really. There are elements that may be that way, but there are elements that aren't. So where you are deciding to sign up for something like this, deciding to find a solution, deciding to take control of something that is not serving you, something is making you unhappy, that is where you are planting your feet firmly on the ground and deciding your direction. But there might be other areas, you know, that 1 foot in, 1 foot out, where you're still just bumping along. And you put your health in other people's hands. It's like, if you tell me this is the best thing to do, I'll just do it, even if it feels a little bit wrong. If it goes against my gut, is kind of saying, I'm not too sure if this is the right decision or not. But somebody else is being the expert, so you just allow them to tell you what to do and you go on that path. It may be that you were told when you left school that you weren't academic, that you probably couldn't, you know, do X, Y, Z, but hey, you can try doing this, and, you know, you just kind of fell into a career or a life path because other people were saying and dictating what was possible for you. You took on that belief system, so you just coasted along. You've just been on that path because it's where you started and it's where society has told you to go. We follow these paths in our lives, and this is what it is to live in this reactionary place, to live from a place of, I'm just going to coast along on that lie-low, and when life smacks me, throws something at me, it'll tumble, 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 I'll get back up and just keep coasting along. That is how the majority of the world lives. That is how we have been conditioned to live. That is how it actually suits the majority to live. It's like, I don't need to particularly take responsibility for my life. There is always an expert. There is the government. There are medical experts. There are other people that are going to come in. You know, we've all heard the stories of the accountants that rob people blind because they have no idea what's actually going on in their businesses. All these different examples of how it is comfortable to put our lives in somebody else's hands. So that is what it is to just coast along on that lie-low. And what I want to do inside this safe container is to start to awaken a sense of curiosity in the different areas of your life so that you can look at it and go, okay, so if I don't feel great about this area, if there is a part of me that is feeling like I'm out of integrity with who I am and my values, if there is a sense that I am on the wrong path, are you just going to stay on that lilo and react to whatever life throws at you? Or are you going to step out of the stream and plant your feet firmly on the ground and decide your direction? So if we think about this journey into midlife, so the majority of the women in here, and I'm guessing, you know, there's a lot of women in here that I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet one-to-one, but I'm guessing that the majority of the women in here, the women who are tuning in, we're kind of in the 45 to 65 age range, roughly. And if you're outside of that, you're not in the wrong place. It's just from my observation at the moment. So where we are typically in our lives, we have been programmed, deeply entrenched programming, unless you're lucky enough to have people in your environment that do things very differently. But society wants us to believe that there is an inevitable decline of our health, of our looks, of our sexual relationships, of our value of women as women in society and what we have to offer. And we subconsciously start to act from that place. Now, inside this space, what I invite you to do is to start questioning that. Is it inevitable that I've got aches and pains, I'm putting on weight that I wish I didn't have, I don't like who I see when I look in the mirror, but it's just where I'm at in my life. There is a normalcy that is being created around these conversations. There is a normalcy that has been created around popping a pill for something. Everybody else is doing it. It's just, you know, you go to the doctor, they are very happy to hand you a prescription for whatever is ailing you with your, you know, your hormones being out of whack or an ache or a pain here. Chronic illness has become normalized. There is so much now around us that is normalized, but it is not normal. You don't have to accept it as your normal. And this is where we get to look at, okay, so am I on this journey in my life to have a mediocre existence, or do I want a magnificent existence? Do you want mediocre relationships or magnificent relationships? Do you want mediocre health or magnificent health? There are examples of people in their 70s, 80s who are doing extraordinary things, running marathons. I spoke about, oh my goodness, I'm just going to go blank on her name. Jane Fonda. You know, look at her in her 80s and what she's doing. Look for women who are a picture of, an example of the kind of woman that you want to be, and look at what they're doing. Look at how they live their lives. If I want to improve my health, I'm not going to go to a health practitioner who lacks vitality, is desperately overweight, is complaining and whinging and bitching about what it looks like to be a midlife woman, who obviously accepts the decline of their health and their quality of life. I'm not going to go to that person to learn how to become the midlife woman that I want to be. Equally, I'm probably not going to go to a 23, 25-year-old that has finished their university degree but hasn't lived into the existence, lived into the life that I want to be living. I want to learn from women who are a step or two in front of me. And I think now in this online space, in this education space where we have access to these women, or these, men as well, but to people who are just a step or two ahead of us on our journeys. And I think if you start to focus there and decide, okay, let me create that clear picture of the health, the kind of vitality, that joy and enthusiasm and excitement for life that I yearn to be experiencing, not at some arbitrary point in the future, but right now, your happiness is not dependent on the externals. Your happiness in an experience of life is not dependent on how much money you have in the bank. It's not dependent on whether or not somebody else is being nice or unkind. It's not dependent on whether somebody cuts you off in traffic. It's not dependent on what your doctor says. And I just think that this is, or I want to invite you to think about how in this space you can explore a very different picture of creating the life that you yearn to be living, the woman that you yearn to be. So when you, as we're going to be talking to Kim Morrison, who is a magnificent example of everything that I'm talking about, and so you get to hear it from a different perspective shortly. But please take this opportunity to consider, what is mediocre to you? What have you just been accepting that is actually making you unhappy? And what is magnificent? What is your 11 out of 10? What is your 11 out of 10 with your health, your mental health, your physical health? What is your 11 out of 10 in your relationships with children, your relationships with a partner, your relationships with friends? Do you want to be that safe place for your friends that they can call? And it's not that you get to whinge and bitch and complain about life and commiserate and feed each other's woes. It gets to be that you pour hope and possibility and faith, so that by the time they get off the phone with you, their cup is just a bit fuller. Is that the woman that you want to be? Who can you be for your children? I talk about a very powerful, just in the last few minutes before I bring Kim on, I talk about in the vision building work that I do, and yes, ENLIVEN, if you want to do a vision board with me and be part of the experience that where I dive more deeply into these conversations, then that starts on the 5th of September. But, I talk about really the first step is deciding who you want to be as a woman, with clarity. And that doesn't come from just thinking about it. It comes from writing it down and being purposeful. It comes from planting your feet firmly on the ground and taking control of what that is, who that is. So I had an experience a couple of years ago where my beautiful eldest son got a terrible temperature and a headache. And being a mum of 4 kids, we have done a million temperatures and a million headaches and fevers and colds and flus and all the rest of it. And it was like, bother. He came home from work. He was 20, came home from work, and he was living here at the time, and we tucked him into bed, and I made sure he was hydrated, and we did the things that we did. And the next morning he woke up and he was covered from head to toe in a rash. And I actually, at first, I thought it was, it's just gone out of my head. It's just gone out of my head. anyway, I thought it was something, but it wasn't. And so we popped him in the car and got him to the local clinic here. I had made a decision in the moment. We were going to go to emergency because he started to lose feeling in his arms and his hands. And instead of going, into emergency, which was half an hour away, I decided to go to our local clinic. And he had meningitis, and he was literally a couple of hours away from death. It was a horrendous, horrendous moment, as any mother can possibly comprehend. And I was in a place then where I was able to be incredibly calm and a source of hope and a source of calm and, that rock in his life. Now, I can honestly tell you, if it had have been 10 years prior, I probably would have been in hysterics and been feeding the worry and fear and anxiety in that moment. And it was because of the work that I had been doing until then that allowed me to be the woman that I needed to be, the mother that I needed to be for him in that moment, to keep him safe, to keep him calm, and to get the care that he needed, so that we actually saved his life. And of course, it wasn't all on me, but the care team around him, I was very calm, very focused, and did what needed to be done to get him the help that he needed. Now, that takes time and work. Now, you may be blessed enough to have arrived at your, wherever you are in your life, with the knowledge and the support and the care around you to be that woman. But it took me work and time to be there. Prior to that, I was absolutely a reactionary, slightly hysterical. I would have, not been who he needed me to be. So that is just one example of what it looks like to become the woman that you need to be. So as you think about that, I hope it has just awoken a few thoughts in your mind about different scenarios, because yes, there is those two different pictures. There is the picture of being the source of joy and fun and happiness and light and possibility and excitement and adventure. That's great. But also being the woman who you want to be in times of crisis, in times of pandemics across the globe, in times of recession. Who do you get to be to feel as though you have your feet firmly planted on the ground? You are taking charge of where you are heading. You know where you are heading. You have a clear picture of, when we pull back the bow and the arrow is going to hit a target, you know the target that you are wanting to hit. So this is my gift to you today, is please take the time to get it down on paper. Who do you want to be? And if you have a conversation in your mind around, I'm not even sure what that is, then the ENLIVEN Vision Board Workshop is going to serve you really well. I'll get my assistant Gia to pop a link for that in here shortly. If you haven't signed up yet, please jump in and do that now. I'm offering for you to bring a friend for free. So yes, it's $97. If you want that for 50% off and you want to share the cost with somebody else, then please do that. The way, when we do this with other people, it makes it just that much more powerful, the accountability, the support. But if you want to actually just gift it to somebody else, there's a lot of women in this community that have already done vision board workshops with me. Some people do them 2, 3, 4 years in a row and just keep going. But it is an opportunity to gift this experience to somebody else as well. All right, so we are now at that beautiful point. We've got Kim Morrison. Kim, are you with us? I'm not sure if she's actually there. I know her video is on. Is not quite on. She is there. Oh, so excited. I'm so excited. I love talking to Kim. So before I bring Kim on, I just want to take a minute for those of you that haven't met the beautiful Kim Morrison until this moment. She is without question the self-love guru in Australia. And I think we can probably widen that. I know she has enough women across the globe that we can widen that title. But she is the founder, the creative director of 28 Essential Oils, which is a beautiful company here in Australia. And one of the things that I'm going to dive into with Kim today is talking about the fact that she's a temperament practitioner. And if you've been tuning into this conversation over the past 4 days, you'll know that I talk about this, we've just talked about today about being the woman that you want to be, and our emotions and our temperaments is all tied into creating this life that we want to create. So I would love to welcome Kim now. There we are. Kim, hello, darling.
Hello. How are you?
I am so well, and it is such a delight. Your background is beautiful.
I don't know why I can't hear. Can you hear me?
Oh, have you got sound? I can hear you.
Hang on, I might just remove that mic. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got
okay,
sound.
There you are.
We do. We've got sound. Thank you, Kim. Welcome. Thank you for being here, darling.
My pleasure.
Good. So, Kim, I think what we can do is if we start this conversation with, we're talking about self-love. So I think it's one of those terms, and I think it's easy to think about, we hear terms about empowerment and all these fabulous words that get thrown around, and they go in one ear and out the other without really grounding into what they mean. So let's start with self-love. What is self-love?
Gosh, I have a podcast called the Self-Love Podcast, and I ask every single one of my guests, what does self-love mean to you? And I think self-love is our self-responsibility. No one, nothing can make us happy. Only we can do that job. And no matter what happens to us, no matter what occurs in our life, no matter what people do to us or don't do to us, it is not what happens to us, it's how we respond to it. And I truly believe one of the greatest acts of self-love is to honor yourself and realize that you are the most beautiful, precious, amazing goddess that was ever put on this planet. And I just think that one of the greatest tools and gifts that we can give to ourselves is honoring that, no matter what age we are, and knowing that with each phase and stage in our life, there's positives and maybe there's challenges as well. And I've yet to meet any woman, any person that says every phase of their life is perfect. So I guess where we're at right here, right now, and what you're offering is, I actually think self-love is honoring how extraordinary we truly are, warts and all.
I cannot tell you how much I love that answer. And it just, we've been talking throughout this week about personal responsibility. And this morning I was talking about, I don't know if you were listening in, but this sense of just going with the flow, just being with whatever life throws at you, and you just react as it comes along, versus having your feet firmly on the ground and deciding the direction that you want to take. And the idea that you've really grounded self-love into that, because I think it's easy to think about self-love as spending time looking in the mirror going, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. And, that can actually help. That can help. But it's just that idea that we get to decide, we get to take responsibility as a definition of self-love is magic. It's absolutely magic, Kim. So with that in mind, we talked a little bit about morning routines, and I would love to dive in with you about essential oils, how you use them, and the role that they play in your daily life and well-being routines.
I feel very fortunate that I was introduced to aromatherapy at 19 years of age. I'd heard
Mm,
about it, but I actually got to embody and embalm myself with it when I was living in Melbourne. And I got to hear two women speaking. They just launched their aromatherapy company. And I remember just sitting in the audience looking at these two women who at that time would have been in their maybe early 30s, and just thought, I want what they've got. And what I realized, and I want to fast track right forward to my 50th birthday. And I was sheltered a week at Gwangana. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. And I had an iridology and a blood analysis and things like that. And he
yeah,
sat there looking at me and he goes, there's different times, it was showing in my eyes apparently as a diagnostic tool. There's times in your life that you've been really challenged and you've been really hurt or you've been really stressed, he said. But what fascinates me about the lines in your eyes is you quickly get over that. What's your superpower? And I sat there and I thought, wow. And I thought the only thing that I've really used consistently throughout my life, and particularly when stressed or challenged, is essential oils. And I said to her, and I've used them every day. There's not a day that's gone by since I was introduced to them at 19 that I've missed using essential oils. And I do think of them as my superpower. They support me, they create me, or they allow me to create rituals that allow me to take care of myself, or put them in a bath, or put them in the diffuser. And I think the power of essential oils is that it's not only bringing nature indoors, but it's a tool. It's something tangible that then brings our focus and attention into an intentional action. So if I said to you, take 3 deep breaths and relax, we could all do that.
yeah,
When I say to you, grab your lavender oil, and as you as you inhale that beautiful aroma of lavender, I want you to picture yourself becoming more and more relaxed. And as you do that, inhaling those beautiful virtues of lavender, I just want you to take 3 deep breaths that will allow you to let go of the stress of the day. And I think what happens when we bring a tool that's tangible, it's not just words, it's not just sounds, it's not just me thinking, but it allows me to focus on something specific and tangible.
yeah,
And smell is very closely linked to our emotions.
yeah,
So emotions drive behavior. And we know that if we're feeling great, we tend to behave great. If we're
yeah,
not feeling great, we don't behave great. And I
yeah,
think where I've used the oils, not only from a physical point of view, so if I've got a bump or a bruise or a headache, or I had PMT or going through perimenopause or whatever it was, I could use them for a physical remedy.
yeah,
But I also use them very powerfully for mental. So if I have to focus and do something and do a lot of work and use my intellect, I will use them for that. But really, from a spiritual and an emotional point of view, there is not as much research around this, but we do know that they can smell taps you in a way that nothing else can. Maybe
mm,
music would be the next closest thing. You
yeah,
can easily be transported back to a
yeah,
time or a place with a song. But smell is I would call it your secret superpower, because it's when I take in a deep breath and acknowledge the smell and then put a positive intent into my
yeah.
next action, it changes the way we think and feel instantly.
Oh, I started this challenge with talking about reawakening our enthusiasm for life, and doing that through our five senses. It's like, stop and look at the world with awe and wonder. Listen to Pavarotti's Nessun Dorma, and that sense of smell. You know, picking up if you got blessed enough to pick an orange off a tree rather than out of the supermarket, the aroma of that. And so when you talk about this, it's so evocative, and it really is that powerful. I mean, we all know what the smell of cut grass in summer, and these different aromas that just create such an instant and powerful reaction. It's beautiful.
And you know what? There's a lot of science behind it too,
Yeah.
because you just talked about cut grass. That
Mm,
smell that we as humans smell is actually the plant, the grass, releasing ketones, aldehydes, different sesquiterpenes that actually create. And what the plant is saying is, be careful, we're being eaten, or we're being hurt, or we're being damaged. And the smell is to let all the other blades of grass know to be in protective mode. And so what will happen in the plant and animal world is, if a tree has been eaten too much, the beautiful chemistry that makes up that plant will make itself taste more bitter, so that the animal will stop eating it to give it a chance to recuperate. So when you go beneath the surface of the power in behind essential oils, there is a whole chemical and scientific world that explains why we feel calm when we smell lavender.
Yeah, see, I love that. And I was thinking, Kim, about, when I was thinking about introducing you and the fact that we were going to speak again today. And my experience of you is really when you talk about what you do and, just as who you are as a woman, it's like being wrapped in a lovely warm blanket. And as you bring up these different ways of thinking about things, and this connection to Mother Nature, and all these interconnected messages that get sent around, and we're all tied in together as humans with nature, this lovely interconnected energy. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge being connected to you gives me that experience of just like, I just feel myself settle and I want to smile.
That's so lovely.
And you spoke before, I want to go back, you talked about looking at somebody. Remind me, you looked at somebody and it was like, that's who I want to be. That
I want what they've got.
I want what they've got. And I worked in far north Queensland in Australia in hospitality, and I became quite nocturnal. I was drinking a lot, dancing on bars for a job. Can you believe that? We've all had a lot of careers. And I arrived back in Victoria, and my mum took one look at me and was slightly horrified. I'd gained a lot of weight from drinking too much and, an unhealthy lifestyle. And she sent me to see a naturopath. And that was a pivotal moment, looking at this woman. And there was a few experiences that came out of that. One, when I was looking at somebody who just epitomized what I thought a glowing, healthy, calm, nurturing, beautiful woman was. And I looked at her and I was like, I want what she's got. I want to be her. And that was from there that I made the decision to go and study naturopathy. And I think, if we all reflect on that in our lives, there are different people that cross our paths that are an example of where we want to head. And it's so easy in this day and age to get pulled off track, particularly on social media. We can follow people that really grate against us. And it is that sense of that she makes me feel really uncomfortable, but it almost becomes addictive. Then there's a comparison that comes up. And I think if we can just take this opportunity to really decide on who we're looking at, who we want to be like, and the messages that we're absorbing, it just allows us to actually narrow our focus and be moving towards where we want to go. And, so much of this is about just honing in on what that is and how we can get where we want to go. So I feel like I've gone off on a bit of a tangent there, but it just ties in so beautifully with everything that we've been talking about to here. So if we can go now to advanced temperament practitioner, can you explain more about what that is and how you use it to support people?
I will say 4 words, and whoever's watching this, I invite you to choose which word you resonate with the most and write this word down. So the first word is doer. The next word is talker. The next word is watcher. And the last one is thinker. So doer, talker, watcher, thinker. And just think about that, who you are, what you resonate with the most. And there'll be one word, and some of you will say, oh, there was a couple, but one will be your leader. Now, what I learned many years ago, again, another woman I watched speak, and just when I would have been in my 20s, I wanted to know more about what she was presenting. And this is what came up, and that is that we're all different, not wrong. And ultimately, the four temperament training is really about personalities, which is one aspect of what makes us who we are. And it's one of our filter systems. It's how we see the world. Now, I believe we were born kind of like, if I had to give it a ratio, 60% of who we are comes from our personality and what we're born with. The other 40 is circumstance, parenting, upbringing, coaches, different people, and all the different things that occur in our life. But predominantly, there'll be one of those words that kind of you resonated to. And just look, I run 4 weekend workshops over this. So to give it to you in a very quick nutshell, and you may, as I say this, you may recognize your partner or your children or a parent or how they were, because that's also shaped us. And for those of us that have had more than one child, you'll know that you can raise your children with the same rules, the same environment, the same parents even, and yet they still have this way of the world that they're going to do it their way. And that's where I think understanding this work really does help us have way better conversations, way better connections, way better relationships, because we're only seeing the world through the doer, the talker, the thinker, or the watcher. But if you notice, there's another 3 different ways minimum. And within that, there's an introvert and an extrovert. So it's a little bit like the Myers-Briggs, but there are so many different ways that we can look at the world. And so this lens that we have, yes, we may be born that way, but we also, all humans have all traits. So we can actually be all 4 personality types or step into those types when required, because some people say, oh, I'm like this at work, but I'm like this at home. But your true core self will come up when you get really tired or emotional. So when I know the emotions are high, your intelligence goes out the window, and that's when our true self comes out. And that's where I really look to see which type you are. And it's not a case of, I want to be that, therefore I want to be a doer. It's not that at all, because if I give you a brief description of all 4, the doer is somebody that just gets stuff done. Their energy enters the room before they do. They're quite on point. They don't suffer fools. They're very, they're usually the one that's got, I don't know what the line is, but fire burning in all pots, or they've got so many things happening at once. They're usually busy. They've got stuff to achieve. They're high achievers, and they like to get things done. And their favorite word in the whole English dictionary is now. So everything's got to be done now. And so if you had a parent like that, or if you've got a kid or a husband or a partner like that, you'll be going, yeah, I know. And they can come across kind of bossy. But they also are the most extraordinary souls. They care, and that's why they want to do so much. They have a high drive. Let's look at their opposite, the watcher. Usually a little bit more introverted, not to say that they're not proactive or out there, but these people listen a lot more. They observe, they watch. They also really, they want to be valued for who they are, not for what they do. So, respect is really important to them. And they have a lot to offer, but they often get looked over because they tend to be more quiet. They love peace and quiet. They love people, but they get exhausted by people. So they'll often retreat. And they can also come across, a little bit lazy or non-committal. And that's because it takes too much energy to be, out there and in everyone's face. They can be a little bit stubborn. So out of all 4 types, they're probably the most stubborn. You just wouldn't know it. So they'll nod if you ask them to do something. They'll go, yeah. And then under their breath, it'll be in my time. So people will look at them and think that they're a pushover. They're not. Every one of the types has strong, strong points. And of course, every type has its weaknesses or constraints. And I guess with some of the constraints of the watcher is they're not always on time. They don't really get motivated by having to do things at a certain time. And so if you've got one of these that you're married to, or you have a child like this, you've got to come at them from a different angle of, hey, and they need choice, and they need time limits, and they need warnings of when they need to get that in. They're quite complacent, but they're amazing listeners. They're people pleasers, but they're also peacemakers, which is beautiful. Then we go to our talker. They love to talk. They'll walk into a room, oh, that's enough about me. Let's talk about you. What do you think about me? They love to be the center of attention. They've got stories upon stories. They're great storytellers. They're very big picture. They think everything's possible. They don't go to the gym to lose weight or to look good. They go there because it's a social connection, and it's usually the coffee afterwards that they're most looking forward to.
Yeah.
They are incredibly motivated and inspirational, but they can come across a bit airheady sometimes, or they can come across like not grounded, and sometimes they will embellish, or I wouldn't say lie, but they'll extend the truth in order to get a good story across. They can often be late. They're not great. They're wonderful social people. If you're going to have an event, make sure you've got a playful or a talker there, because they will actually really help everyone feel relaxed. But then other people will look at them and think, wow, they share way too much information, but they're beautiful souls. They love to help, and they love being around people. They're fed, their energy gets fed by people. Unlike the doer, they like people so long as they're doing a job for them. Unlike the watcher, they like people to make them laugh, but then get out of their space and let them relax.
Yeah.
And then we have our beautiful, amazing thinker, the real precise type, the ones that like to analyze everything. They're quite critiquing. They research. They look at science. They like to understand how, what, and why. And that can mean that they can come across pedantic, even anal. They can be a bit nitpicky, and they are definitely on time. And everything has to be done, and everything has a place, and every place has something in it that has meaning. So very analytical, and they can come across, as I said, a little bit nitpicky, or like you never get it right with them, because in their opinion, they're probably the most harshest on themselves. So look, that's it in a nutshell. But when you understand this and the way I deliver the information, I just love people to have a laugh at themselves. I like people to know that they're not bad. They're just different. No one's wrong. We're just different. So I fell in love with the work many, many years ago. And then I went to America and decided I have to get trained in this. I use it in the workplace, in relationships. I'm also a marriage celebrant. So every couple I marry, I always talk to them about their personalities. And I also use it very much with my coaching and in my workshops.
Yeah, I'm fascinated. I haven't heard these terms before. In the training that I did, similarly, was in the US. We talk about controller, analyzer, supporter, and promoter. So the promoter is the one that you want at the party. The promoter is that the talker in your it's interesting. It's fascinating.
Well,
And
if you look at it, all of this work was based on Hippocrates some 2,500 years ago, and he looked at all the fluids and all the people that were coming in with different conditions. He noticed that they came from 4 basic temperaments, and of course from there we've had the Myers-Briggs disc and lots of other human design elements come from that, but predominantly those 4 is where it started.
Yeah. And having that insight into where your strengths lie then allows you to look at how, where other people can support you to create a more balanced, whether that's in relationships. I know in my relationship, my husband and I are quite opposite. I am the doer. I've got that controlling, like, let's get it done now. Whereas my husband he needs time to think about it and process it. And it will be very considered, and no spontaneous decisions. But I know that when he's decided on something, it's had the thought that it needs to happen. And so we balance each other beautifully in the middle. So recognizing these different personality types inside our relationships, as you talked about with our kids and so on, it just allows us to have much more possibly compassion, but understanding about how other people need to make decisions. And it's not necessarily from our operating system. It's a different one.
It also stops us from taking things personally. If a doer or a real powerful personality type walks in and goes, haven't you done that yet? It's like, oh, that's right. They're really task orientated. Don't fight it. You just learn. It's like, no, but I'll have it. And you've got to give them direct, short, sharp answers. no, but it's because I'm doing
Yeah.
something extra special. I'll have it to you within 1 hour. So yeah, you don't take it personally and go, oh, they're always so mean to me. And I think the older we get and the more we move into these amazing, magnificent years, I just think we become more accepting of that, more accepting of ourselves. And whilst you say, yeah, we can learn a lot from our strengths, I think the greatest gifts come from our constraints and where we don't work so well and how we can get support or balance in those elements as well.
Yeah. Do you think that there is value in practicing being in a different way of being? Do you think there's, like for the I've got to use your term. So for the doer to be practicing, sort of being a watcher, do you think there's value in sort of putting yourself in that position to practice it? Or do you think we just work with where we are? What are your thoughts with that?
Well, I think the work shows you there's different lenses. So even if we can't literally, if you're a real doer,
Mm,
you usually marry a watcher, or you'll tend to marry or be attracted to your opposite because of that beautiful homeostasis and balance, like you were talking about, that it brings.
mm,
But I think more than anything, it gives you a breath, a moment to go, oh, that's not how I see it. I wonder if I put that hat on of being a watcher, I can see, yeah, they need to be respected more, or I'm just
mm,
going to give them a little bit more peace and quiet. Even though I want it done now, I just need to honor their point of view and know that to get the best out of that person
yeah.
is to honor and acknowledge their viewpoint, not yours. I love
Mm,
the line, seek to understand before you're understood. So
yeah.
try and understand another person's perspective. I had an example the other day of we lost a very dear friend here on the coast after she gave birth, and just really random, rare, and tragic, leaving behind 3 little girls. And there's a doctor here on the coast that is really hammering in and knocking the hell out of home births, and said that she would have survived if she wasn't. She was in hospital by the time all of this unfolded. But the reality is the family got really upset and sent me a message and sent me the link to her article. And I looked at that and I thought, that is such a powerful or doer perspective, what they would have done, what they were not. And so I went back to the family saying, please remember, and I hope I can say this, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one.
Mm,
But she's also a very, she's what we should have done. And when
yeah.
you understand that, you can see, and I said to them, with her, from her viewpoint, I can fully understand why she thinks that. But as you can read in there, you can also see she didn't have all the information and she's really sad that this woman died. And so I pointed
Mm,
out the points that she did say. But when we get our emotions triggered, we only
mm,
focus on the bad or what was said awful. And, it's true. We will listen to a negative story 10 times more than we will a positive, and then throw in the lens of our personalities. And you'll find that a watcher will withdraw more, a playful or a talker will end up going out and buying something or doing something like radical. A doer will just get more work done, and a precise will get more analytical, critical, and also then really self-judgmental. So when you
mm,
see what stress does to people and when you understand how we all tick and operate, to me, it just gives me a pathway, a roadmap as to why you say and think what you do. It's not what I'd say and do, but hearing and understanding this work makes and allows me more compassion, as you say, more
mm,
understanding, more
mm,
forgiveness, more well-roundedness when it comes to our relationships. So
mm.
I believe it's one of the most powerful tools you could embrace.
Oh, I just think that's so, so true, Kim. I absolutely agree. And the more I understand these different operating systems, these different ways of seeing things and approaching things, the easier it is. The less conflict there is. That compassion grows from a place of connection, not a place from, oh, well, we'll just leave you there because you don't see things the way I see things. It's from a real connection. It allows everybody to arrive where they want to arrive with as much grace as possible. Is really how I see it.
Mm. And it's so powerful because from an understanding of, I don't know how everyone in this group feels, but, I would imagine the women attracted to this are beautiful souls who feel and care and
Mm.
want to be their best version and serve and help others. And so this is just something, and that's why I make such a big deal. I know with your vision board workshops, it's another insightful way of understanding who you are. When I present this workshop in my Essential Self-Care weekend, everyone, what I do is I put all of them in their groups,
Mhm.
and then they all get to see each other from there. And then it's like all of a sudden they become instant besties, because there's that other line. I like that woman. I like the way she thinks. She thinks like I do. And when we get to see, we're not alone, and we may feel alone in our families. We may feel alone at work because we're different. But when you get to see it and we get to play with it, you just get to embody and embrace and celebrate. I had one woman in a workshop turn around and she just said, oh, finally I see myself, and I'm not trying to be everyone else. I'm actually really happy with who I am. Thank you. And I just thought, oh, that's just the best.
That
And
is
I just want to add to it, with all my business and all the oils and the blends I've created, I keep all 4 personalities in mind. So we always release 4 things at a time. People won't know it, but some of one of the blenders for the doers, the talkers, the watchers, and the thinkers, and they won't realize that. And if you need more peaceful calm in your life and you're a doer, you'll probably find you love the oils that are sitting, or the ones that I've created for the watcher, because that also can bring us balance and harmony. So yeah, I use it in all areas of my work.
Oh, so beautiful. I'm so drawn to learning more about it because, even doing this work, there's always the next level or another. If you hear it from a different perspective, even if it's just, changing the language, it just sinks in so much deeper. So I'm excited to learn more, Kim. This is the first time that we've had this conversation. So I'm thrilled that we brought in this something different. What I want to do to end up our conversation and our time today is to dive into I know you have the most beautiful, nurturing rituals that you've done for years in your life, and they've served you really well. So if you're happy to share some of those rituals, maybe a morning routine ritual that you do that supports you to be who you want to be in your day, what can you share that with us?
Well, my superpower is always my oils.
Yeah.
So I have not missed this ritual since I was 19, and that's my full body boost. And so every morning, after my exercise, if like this morning I went to the gym, so I body boost just after I shower. Although going to the gym, I'll put a drop on a tissue and put it down my top of whatever I feel like, if I need energy or if I need more calm or whatever. So I'll use the oils, and everyone at the gym always comments on how I smell. So
Yeah.
I think about and it's not what oil do I want, it's how do I feel today, and how would I like to feel more of? So I'm always looking for the more of. What do I want more of? Not less of, because the less of is showing up, but it's giving me, the body is such an insightful barometer of how I'm feeling or what I need, that I really check in and then choose the oil based on what I want more of, or oils. Then I come back, I have my shower, I body brush in the shower. I'll usually put a drop of Detox and Strengthen, or grapefruit or lime, or something that's quite invigorating but detoxifying. I body brush, or I'll use a face washer. Then I hop out of the shower, and then I body boost while my skin is damp. So I usually have a blend, or I have the body boost blend made up, and we've now pre-made them for everybody so that no one has to think. So you can pour a bit into your hand. And then I literally start from the toes up, and I thank my legs. I thank them for the workout today, or the walk, or even if I haven't exercised that day, I thank them for allowing me. I truly do this. I give thanks to my body every single day, even when I'm upset with her, or when I haven't been good to her, or whatever. I give thanks. And then I come up into my tummy, and there's lots of beautiful badges of honor, stretch marks, and lumpy wobbly bits, and things that have changed as I've gotten older. And I just embellish that and embody it even more. I go up over the breast, and that's my daily body check, if you like, for any changes. And I always nurture and honor them for what they've done. And then up over the arms. And then I'll usually get my hands together and take 3 deep breaths just really quickly. And one of the gifts that I'd love to give to everybody is my manifesto. And I have that laminated up on my wall. And I'll look up there while I'm taking a breath and I'll choose 1 or 2 of the sentences. I stay in my lane. I'm grateful for my body. I drink 2 liters of water a day. Whatever it is that I've got written up there, there's 4 pages of beautiful affirmations and activities. Then I will make a beautiful breakfast and I try and sit in the sun for 10 minutes while I eat my papaya with lime juice, or I might make a beautiful nut porridge. Sometimes I don't feel like eating, so I'm really learning as I've got older. I've done body sculpting, ultra marathon running, played netball to a top level, so I understand the body and the parameters in which we can push and drive and achieve. But as I'm getting older, she's saying to me, you've hammered me enough. So if I go for a run, or, lately I've noticed my hamstring getting twanged. And so I'm like, so I go to the physio and I go to that and I use the oils and honor it, because he's saying to me, you're not meant to run for 50 Ks at a time anymore. So just, and that's been really hard to come to terms with, that I want to go out and run 10 Ks, but I'm probably better off going for a nice 10K walk. So I'm really learning to listen. And then lunch, if I eat or anything, it'll probably be more water, or I'll have a beautiful chai latte. I might have a coffee if I'm feeling like I've got to do some more work that afternoon. And then I start thinking, I'm always thinking about food. Always thinking. Preparation to me is key. So last night I thought, tonight I'm going to have fish tacos. So I've got my beautiful wrap recipe of besan flour, tapioca and salt. I make the most beautiful wraps now. I've got this new recipe I'm addicted to. I then do my fish in the pan with, broccoli and greens and avocado, a little bit of homemade chili sauce. And I can't even wait for dinner tonight now that I'm talking about it. But I'm always thinking ahead. Because I think, if you think about soaking your chia seeds or soaking their nuts, or, yesterday or day before yesterday, I did my ferment. So I put made my coconut ferment. So people go, oh, you do so much, but they become such a part of me that they feel very little acts of love, very small little acts of service to myself. And I truly believe, as we head into these extraordinary years and beyond, I want to be that 90-year-old grandmother that's still fermenting on the bench and telling her kids, I've got this great recipe for a new chocolate cake. I want to be that woman that's walking still 10 Ks a day, even though she's not running anymore. I want to be that woman that I remember sitting at 19 looking at 2 women and going, I just want to be like them and just keep aging with grace. So there's some of the things that I do, but I put my diffuser on every day. If I know people are coming, I'll put drops of lavender on their pillow. I don't know, I do lavender compresses at night for my skin. There's just so many beautiful things that I do. And I've been doing them for well over 30 years.
It is that hearing in your voice the reverence for all these little rituals and the absolute joy and beauty that it delivers into your life every day. That is what I'm hearing, and that is what I want the women in this series who are watching this to take away, because it is in recognizing these beautiful rituals that we get to implement in our lives that really awaken that reverence and excitement and enthusiasm for the life that we are living in right now. Kim, I cannot thank you enough for articulating that so beautifully. Thank you.
My absolute pleasure. Much love, and thank you for the incredible work that you do for all of us. We so love, honor, and respect you too.
Oh, thank you, honey. Before we let you go, I know we're going a little bit over. You've got a beautiful gift for our audience. Did you want to take a minute to let them know what that is?
Sure. Look, there's one of my books is transcribed into an ebook. It's like Chocolate for Women. I wrote it when we had our young children, so it certainly was written with my girlfriend when we were in that younger phase in our lives, but we wrote it for us as we aged. So there's lots of tips, tricks, and ideas in there, oils and recipes and different rituals, which I think we can embrace at any age. And the other thing I have is a beautiful 28-day gentle self-love challenge for you. So it's a little booklet, again, that you can download, and for 28 days, which we know is what it takes for the brain to create a new neurochemical loop pathway back to love, is to do an act of love every day. So there's a 28-day challenge in there for you, and the manifesto, which I just spoke about, which I suggest that you print off, laminate, stick on your bathroom wall, put it in the kids' bathroom or a guest bathroom, and it creates a beautiful conversation piece as well. I hope that that's enjoyed and appreciated.
Oh, without doubt it will be. I've been so mesmerized with you talking. I'm not sure if I've missed questions in here. Somebody's saying I have Kim's wonderful book, and like her, it's amazing. Yes, like Kim is amazing. I think there's been lots of feedback here as people are thinking about their different personality styles, which is really interesting. Perhaps if you've got questions, Kim, I don't know if you're actually in this group. If you're not, I'll send you a link so you can pop in as time permits. I know your schedule is busy, but if anyone's got questions for Kim, pop them in here, and if she's got time, I'm sure she'll pop in and connect with you.
Absolutely.
That's the beauty of doing things live. All right, that's it from us. Thank you so much for being here, Kim. And for those that want to dive into your work further, I know you're on Instagram and Facebook. Is there a favorite place that you send people?
I love Instagram. Did my first reel yesterday by myself, but talking about our beautiful essential self-care. I'm so excited we're having live events again. So I did that. But the funny thing is, I think everyone in this group will appreciate it. I'm not tech savvy the way my kids are, of course, my adult kids. And so I've got a sparkle all over me, and I didn't know how to take it off. So just you'll chuckle to yourselves if you watch that on my Instagram page, which is Kim Morrison 28. So yeah, that's probably the best place. Or you can go to my kimmorrison.com website.
I think that was perfect. Everyone's going to go and want to have a look at the sparkles now.
I didn't know how to take them off. It's hilarious.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kim. Much love.
Pleasure. Take care.
All right, gorgeous women. Well, I don't doubt that there was a wealth of information there that you get to take away today. You can go back through the comments. If you didn't have a moment to write down what those different operating styles are, please go in, have a look, have a think about it. Think about your daily routines, your daily rituals that you get to really just experience that reverence for life and awakening that enthusiasm and excitement for the life that you are living right now. And of course, if you want support to create a beautiful vision for where you're heading, so you've got that target that you get to hit for who you want to be, what you want to do, and what you want to have, then the ENLIVEN Vision Board Workshop is starting on the 5th of September, and this is your opportunity to jump in. And if you want to do it with a friend, then you can split the cost that way. All right, that's it from me today. I'll see you all tomorrow. So much love, and bye for now.